Hello class, Professor Swigert here. I wanted to spend a little time talking about these outlines, give you a little help. This is the kind of thing if we'd go over if you were in a face-to-face class with me, and I felt like I should do a video on it to help you out. So what we're looking for. If you don't know about it, the first thing you need to know, is that there is a worksheet outline that you can use. Sorry, I looked down because I got two screens. Forgive me for showing you the top of my bald head. And I'm looking at the screen down here because this is the one I work on. You want to go to where number 5 is due here in week 7, right here. Go in there, see down here, and then down below where it says topic outline worksheet, okay, that will give you this. Now, this is something you can write in, you can type in it, you can handwrite on it and copy it, scan it, and send it back. Either way, just make sure your handwriting is clear and make sure that you use complete sentences. That's one of the things in the rubric for a good grade is to use complete sentences, meaning there's a subject, a verb, and a predicate. S and P, all SSP is my rubric for English. Subjects and predicates. Have a subject and a verb and then a predicate, which can be an object or an adjective. All right, so with that being said, fill this out. Now, I'm going to come back to this in just a minute because I want you to see what's behind this. And I wanted to introduce you guys to a website about rhetoric. This class is called Composition and Rhetoric, although mostly we seem to talk about composition, but this is a very rhetorical thing we're doing right now. This page is put out by Brigham Young University. It's called Silva Rhetoricae, which is Latin for the rhetorical forest. It has all kinds of topics over here, which I'd love to get into, but we're going to try to keep it brief. For those of you who did high school debate, one quick thing, these branches over here, judicial is mock trial, deliberative is policy debate or CX debate, and epideictic rhetoric is more what we would call Lincoln-Douglas debate. What we're going to look down on is arrangement, because that's what we're basically working on right now. How are you going to put together the order of the things you want to say? That's what arrangement deals with. So if you click on that, this is the order of arrangement that's been around for a few thousand years. Notice it says it goes back to Cicero, famous, well, my mouse isn't working very good, sorry, it must be getting weak. Famous Latin, Roman philosopher, Stoic philosopher, lawyer, senator, and sorry about that, my mouse just dying on me here. Anyhow, these are the basic parts of any arrangement. It looks familiar. Here you have the Latin terms, exordium, narratio, partitio, confirmatio, refutatio, and peroratio. But, in English we just call it introduction, statement of facts, division, proof, refutation, and conclusion. Now, we've had you kind of working on the first two, and you've probably already been thinking about division. Division is what are you going to say? So this is where you sort of give a brief outline of where you're going in your paper. And then here under proof, this is where you're actually going to make the arguments. This is where you're going to make your points. In a 5-paragraph essay, it's kind of like a body paragraph. But here's where you're going to make your points. And then we've asked you also in the outline to do what's called a refutation. And a refutation is when you think of the arguments against your position. Now, I'm going to suggest you think of it two ways. Think about the general arguments against the position you're taking, but I want you to think more specifically maybe about the arguments against the way you argue for the position. Those might be two different things, okay, and I'll come back to that in a minute, but think about that. Then, of course, your conclusion. So where we're going to, this just parallels what the, where'd it go? Here it is. What this does. You'll notice up here, this is where, and they've got the X's, but this is your blank thesis statement. Not the whole thesis paragraph, just your thesis statement in its bare form. Put that right here, okay? And then you put, this is what you've done in the introductory paragraph, and they're saying here to do the narratio in that introductory paragraph. You can do 2 paragraphs if you want. even 3. You can have, your introduction, your hook, and just kind of introduce your topic, then give some background to your topic, and then you go down here and give your thesis statement. And that can be even 3 paragraphs if you want to build it up. And then when you get to your thesis statement, again, you'll have, this is pretty much what you just worked on. You're also going to be thinking about what we're calling division. That's what are your points going to be. Now, this outline has you with the traditional 3 points, and that's a good thing to do. Although the paper doesn't have to have 3 points. It could have 2, it could have 4. But we're going to just say it's going to have 3 right now. And what this assignment wants you to do is to fill these in. Okay, so this would be the big argument here. And this would maybe be some sub points you want to make under it. And this gives you a place to do that. However you want to break it down. But this helps you lay out what you're going to say. So when you come to the point of writing a rough draft, you just have to turn this into text. You'll have it all laid out for you and ready to go. And you can put what sources you're going to use in here or what technical points you're going to make. But you're going to have major issue 1, major issue 2, and major issue 3, or proof. I call them proofs because they prove your argument. That's the old Greek term for it all the way back to Aristotle in his definition of rhetoric. These are proofs. They prove your argument. The Latin is confirmatio. They confirm your argument. Okay? And we're making an argument here, so these are to support your thesis. Okay? And you lay it all out here. And then notice when you get down here, acknowledge or refute other arguments. And this gives you a couple you could do. You might respond to 2 of them. A lot of times with some of these, it's going to be the money involved. And you're going to want to deal with that. But that may be something you want to deal with up here, is how you're going to deal with the cost. And like I say, have the refutation part down here be more of a refutation of people responding to your arguments versus responding to the major position. The kind of things you're arguing for. And they'll say, well, I don't know if that's true because of this. And so think about what that might be and respond to that. And then in your conclusion, you're going to have a call to action, restatement of thesis, statement of implication, answer, solution, final option, final opinion. This is where, it should be a good paragraph where you're kind of summarizing it up and saying, here's what you need to do because of what I've said, or here's what we need to do because of what I said, or here's what we need to think differently than how we've thought before because of the argument I made. That's basically it here. Notice the rules down here. Use phrases. Oh, here it's saying use phrases, not complete sentences. Where there is a 1, there must be a 2. Where there's an A, there must be a B. And use standard Harvard outlining symbols. 4 major issues. Use Roman numerals for subtopics. Use capital letters. This is pretty standard. And then each Roman numeral can lead to a topic sentence that will tie that paragraph to your thesis statement. So think about topic sentences you go to. So again, I guess here that according to this, you don't have to use full sentences. You can use just phrases, but they do need to be clear what you're doing. Now I want to talk just a little bit about how you're going to do this. Don't just throw these up here. I want you to think about it a little deeper. And I've put together, it's not a hard thing to see, but come on. There we go. So let's say you have 3 arguments. We're going to call them proof 1, proof 2, proof 3. You need to think about what order you're going to put them in. That matters as well. And if you send them in to me, I may rearrange the order for you and think that there's a little bit better way to put it. But let's go ahead and think about this for a second so I don't have to do that. I am using letters outside the numbers. The letters imply the strength of the argument. So the A argument is your strongest argument. The C argument is your weakest argument, or maybe the one that you don't think is the best. And your B argument is sort of the middle strong argument. And this is all the way back to Aristotle again. You start with your A strong argument, maybe not your strongest or your best argument. That gets their attention. That says there's something significant going on. And then you put your C argument in there because that may address some issues for some people. It adds to the overall effect of your argument. And then you end with your strongest argument because that leaves people with, they've already been kind of built up to it. And then they hear this and go, and in addition to that and that, there's that. Whoa, that must be a good point. That must be a strong point. That's kind of the way you're trying to get people to think as you give these arguments here. And it's a good order. Now, this isn't an absolute order, but I give this to you for two reasons. One, I want you to think about your arguments. What ones do you think are strongest? What ones do you think are weakest? That's a good thing to think through. And perhaps use this arrangement, but there are two other possible arrangements you can use. One would be time and one would be logic. Perhaps there's some reason why you need to arrange your arguments according to time. If you're talking about something historical, certainly we put things that are historically past first, and then we come up to the present. That kind of arrangement works as well. Or the logical argument, it'd be more like this. Do one of these proofs, one of these arguments have to be understood before I can understand another one of these arguments? And that way then you'd put them in the order of, okay, I understand one, that helps me understand two, which leads me to number three. And so there's a logical flow that's probably more important than the weight of the arguments. But if you're just looking for like, okay, what 3 points can I make about this, you're probably in the BCA sort of thing. But if you kind of see a history to it, then you can use time. And then you may have some things where it's better if something follows something else because it'll be better understood if it does follow something else. That would be a logical order. If you want to help me out when you turn this in, and I'm not requiring this, but it would help out. Let's go back here. You could put just somewhere in here, make a statement, or as you turn this in, I'm using the strength of argument order. I'm using a temporal order. I'm using a logical order. Somewhere on here, just make a sentence or in parentheses or something, so I can think about it along that way to help you out the most. But this is what you're going to turn in. It can be typed. Okay, and but it can also be handwritten if it's neat. Make sure I can understand it, and just scanned in too. That's fine with me. I'm going to be looking at how you're making arguments. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. Hope this helps you do this assignment. And if you do this assignment well, writing a rough draft will be a lot easier. All right? Okay. Get away from that.